lap or anywhere in anybody's lap around here, it's not on purpose.
Gonna do the ping pong thing.
It could very well happen. Last tour of the day, legs are shot, back is shot. So any kind of quick stop or jerking around, I can easily lose balance and be anywhere around here.
All right.
Including through the windshield. You never know. That could happen too. Matter of fact, it just about happened last tour.
Did it really?
Yeah.
I didn't have you getting that close to it. I had to stop you.
No. You weren't even on here. Tripped over a little kid.
It's okay. These ones are squishable.
Yeah, that's right.
Just ask and then you can go up soon, Evie.
Yeah, they come up in front of you anytime they want.
All right.
One of them at a time.
All right, good afternoon. Can everybody hear me in the back? All right. How many folks we got from out of state?
Watch out.
All right, how many from North Platte?
Go up front.
Okay. Well, that's not too bad. So, I just have to watch what I say just a little bit better, be a little bit more honest about what I say. So, if you have a bus full of people out of state, you can pretty much say whatever you want and get away with it, but we'll have to make sure we tell you some actual facts today. But anyhow, my name is Wade Krahulik. I'll be your bus tour guide today. Just a little bit of background about myself. I hired on with Union Pacific back in 1998 in Council Bluffs, Iowa. And in case you're wondering, how does a guy from Council Bluffs make his way out here to North Platte? And just what part of insanity, possessed you to come out here? Well, to be honest with you, what happened was, being on the railroad, you kind of work on a seniority system. And I got really tired of every 6 months I'd have to break a lease and live in Council Bluffs and come out here to North Platte because I couldn't hold seniority in Council Bluffs. Then 6 months later in North Platte, I'd be able to hold seniority back home in Council Bluffs. And I'd go move back there, break a lease here, bounce back and forth. So the last time I got forced out here, I just said, the heck with it, I'll stay here in North Platte. So the last 20 years I've been here. So, but I honestly don't regret it. I really love North Platte. Great town. I don't see anything wrong with it. A lot of people like to complain about it. Those are usually people that have never lived any place worse. And believe me, there are places much worse than this one to live. I promise you. So, but anyhow, with the welcome to Bailey Yard, world's largest rail yard and classification yard. 2,850 acres of railroad, broken up into 7 separate yards. 7 separate yards. Each yard has its own mission, does its own thing, and somehow, as it's doing its own thing, we managed to build trains and get trains across the road through here. Off here to your right, this building you see, our first attraction here, is our yard office.
You're right. Our what?
Okay, we're going to have to get something straight here, folks. If I'm looking at you and I say right, it means you're left. We're just, we'll figure this out. By the end of the tour, we'll have this down to a science, I promise you. Yes, sir.
Right, there's a cornfield.
Okay, off to your right, there's a cornfield. We grow this stuff. This particular corn is for cows. Do not break in here and eat it. You will really have a bellyache. Okay, off to your left is the yard office. And this is where the superintendent, the general manager for the Great Plains Service Unit is, which North Platte is the center pin, linchpin for. Great Plains Service Unit encompasses Denver, Colorado, Cheyenne, Wyoming, North Platte, of course, everything in between, all the way up to and including Kearney, Nebraska. So, and everything in between. Anything past that going east belongs to the Great Lakes Service Unit, which belongs to South St. Paul, Minnesota. Why? I have no idea. Don't ask, because I didn't draw these lines. That was somebody at a pay grade much higher than mine, much more educated than I am, and we'll just leave it at that. But this building over here with the yard office is also where I work. I'm by craft, I'm a trainman. I hired out to be a trainman. I used to work at the yard. switching cars, building trains, tearing trains apart. I was trained to be a conductor, so I could take trains across the road with an engineer. Away from home terminal points for North Platte, Cheyenne, Wyoming, Council Bluffs, Iowa, and Marysville, Kansas. Those are the limits that we can run to out of here. And those terminals can run from their home terminals to here as well. We can't go past those points due to union agreements and things like that, and hours of service limitations, so those are as far as we can run out of here. So as we get going on this tour, if anybody has a question at any time, please go ahead and raise your hand, and I'll answer the questions as we go. It's a lot easier for me to answer questions than it is to stand up here and talk about things, especially we're going to have a few long periods where we don't have a lot to actually look at and see, so it's a lot easier to answer questions. If no questions, I'll start making things up to talk about. And we could get into politics too. And
back where we started, there were rows and rows of locomotives just parked there. Were they waiting maintenance or just being put?
Okay, back when we started over there at the Golden Spike, you guys probably all looked over there and you saw all those locomotives all parked over there by that big building. Okay, that's our diesel shop, locomotive repair shop. All those locomotives you saw sitting there, we're waiting to get in there for some kind of repair. Either repair, or maybe it's a routine inspection, oil analysis. It could be anything. Could be an engine rebuild. You never know. That diesel shop can do just about anything. So, just so we kind of kicked off on the right foot here, so we have a little understanding of what we're talking about. When you see a train coming down the tracks, all those cars that you see on a train, they are not necessarily all going to the same destination. Okay, they may all be on the same train, but they aren't all destined to go, let's say, to Chicago. So some of those cars you see, some of them might be going to Minneapolis, some of them might be going to Kansas City, some of them might be going down to Dalhart, Texas. You never know where they're going. But they're all on that one train at that particular point in time because they are on one leg of their journey. And their next place that they're going, let's just say you're coming from Cheyenne, you're on the interstate, you're coming from Cheyenne, Wyoming, and you see a train coming into North Platte. Most likely that train's going to stop here in North Platte. And this is going to be the last leg of that particular train's journey. That train will cease to exist in North Platte as it is now. What's going to happen is we are going to reclassify that train. What that means is we're going to take that train, we're going to tear it apart, separate all the cars, and from that train we're going to build more trains. And we're going to take other cars from other trains and add it onto those cars and make other trains. So, and we're going to, with cars with like destinations, and we're going to send all those trains to different destinations. So, step by step, leapfrog by leapfrog, we are going to get all these cars to their proper destinations. That's how we build trains. That's how we move freight across the country. So, you have a question, ma'am?
How do you know which car is going where?
How do we know which car is going where? You know, it's amazing because every tour today, at this exact point, we get that question. It's amazing.
How much did you pay her to be your show?
I'm never gonna tell. But no, the way we tell where a car is going, it's actually a pretty neat system. There's an electronic tag on every car. There's a little electronic. It's almost like an RFID tag. It's a transponder. You have to forgive me, guys. I got huge respiratory problems. And no, it's not COVID-19. I've already had that, and I've got shots and everything else. Got rabies shots too. If anybody needs to see my tags. But what this tag does is once a car is loaded at whatever factory it's at, that tag is scanned and programmed with what's on the car, how much that car weighs, its destination and everything, and any other pertinent information that needs to be on there, whether it's hazardous material, what the data is for that hazardous material, whatever. Then, as it's going down the main lines, there's what we call AEI scanners that pick those up, and it tells us what train that's on, what the lead locomotive is, what position of the train it's on. So we know where that car's at all times, or at least as of this last scanner pickup. So we always know where that's at. So when it comes to Bailey Yard, the last thing that the last place it gets scanned is just before it hits one of our humps. Now that's how we classify our cars, is it hits one of our humps. When it hits our humps, what a hump is just, it's like a hill. It's got one track that goes over the top of it. Comes up one side, and as it comes down to the other side, it starts breaking down or splitting apart. Imagine like a tree trunk. As it comes down, and then it starts breaking down into twos. Splits into two, then splits again exponentially, and then into 4 tracks, then 8, then 16, so forth and so forth. So you get to a point like at the east hump, it'll break down into 64 tracks. At the west hump, it'll break down into 50 tracks. But it just keeps breaking down and breaking down and breaking down. Each one of those rails is how we separate those cars. As it comes to the hill, AEI scanner picks up the car. It knows what the destination is. It knows what the weight is. Once the car gets to the top of the hill, there's a trainman up there that pulls the release pin that uncouples the car, and down the hill it goes. Goes through the retarders, and the computer's already pre-selected the track it's going into. Down the hill it goes into that track. And it does that for every train in the car, or every car in that train.
So the switches are thrown by the same computer.
Switches, it's all computerized. That computer keeps track of everything. Before that pin's even pulled, that the computer's already taken into account how far that car has to roll before it meets the next car in that rail, in the destination rail. So yeah, she wants to come up there, that's fine.
He wants to. Come on down, buddy. Come on.
Yeah, there's plenty of room down there.
They're tiny.
So as that car's rolling down the hill, there's a couple radar guns that are on that car that are keeping constant track of its speed. And the speed is constantly being calculated as well as the inertia of that car. And the goal is to make sure that car does not couple into that next car that's in the rail at a speed greater than 4 miles per hour. So to control that speed, if it's going too fast, we have a system of what we call retarders. Okay, retarders envision a big pair of pliers on the outside of rails. If a car's coming down there and is going too fast, we need to slow it down. Once it hits those retarders, they pinch those steel wheels, and it'll slow that car down. It's just steel on steel. So if you imagine fingernails on a chalkboard, magnified by 1,000,000. That's what you got right there. So, yes, sir.
Train up there, we just went by with the light on, it lit it up, made it go so far. The engine had a light on.
Yeah, if it's light up, it's probably getting ready to be called to get out of town. It'll probably be heading either to Council Bluffs, Marysville, or Missouri Valley. Yes, sir.
Has there ever been an instance since you guys have gone to computerize that if a train's or a car's actually been put onto the wrong train, and if so, how do you get it back?
Via computer, it really hasn't been. I don't think I've ever heard of it getting on the wrong train. Usually that'll happen if a human has to make a decision. It's happened that way quite a few times. So usually if people get involved, thinking they're knowing more than the computer does, that's usually when we start having problems. I mean, I hate to say it, but people are stupid sometimes. Yes, sir.
Does somebody have to walk along up there at the top of the hump and pull the cover?
Exactly. That's exactly what happens. There's a trainman up top of that hill who walks alongside that train, and right when they get to a neutral point at the apex of that hill, he pulls the pin and it separates those cars and lets it roll right down the hill.
You said trainman was your job.
Yes.
So have you ever done that particular job?
Yes. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
As far as the knowing which cars go where, that's all electronic and computerized. Now, before the age of electronics and computers, how was that all handled?
That was all done with lists, printed out lists, and pre-positioned predetermined tracks for those cars. And if those train lists weren't accurate, if a car wasn't in the right position on that list, it held things up for quite a while. While you tried to figure out where it was at. And sometimes you would come across a car that wasn't even supposed to be on that train. And yeah, it was quite, it got ugly.
So basically it was done by what position the car was in the train, whether it was the first car, the 10th car, the 50th
Sometimes,
car.
yeah. Sometimes that plays a bit, it makes a big effect on it, yeah. Yes, sir.
Did they do a whole train
If I
on
let
the
his hair grow
left
out.
yard setup? Or
Yeah, they'll do an entire train. Yeah, one entire train. And if the train company is too big, because here lately, I'm sure all you guys have noticed, we're running longer and longer trains all the time. Sometimes the trains that are coming in here in North Platte are too long to fit in the tracks, so we have to split them in half, and take up 2 rails instead of 1. But we'll hump an entire rail at the same time. And all of our switch jobs here in North Platte, they are all remote control locomotives. So they're all remote controlled. So when you see a locomotive, switch locomotives out here with the blinking lights on top, the blinking yellow lights, those are remote controlled. There may or may not be a person in the cab of that locomotive. They may be behind it. They may be half a mile away. As long as they can see the point or the movement, the front, basically the front or what we call the point of the movement, it's legal to move that way. So there may not necessarily be anybody in the vicinity of that locomotive. Something to kind of think about in the future. Now those remote control locomotives do not operate outside of the yard. So you're not going to see them out there running trains between here and Council Bluffs or anything like that. They are yard service only. So that's what we're looking at for right now. But everything in here in North Platte, switch-wise, the hump crews, trim crews, everything, there's all remote controls. So the guy up there at the hump that's pulling those pins, he's controlling the train that he's humping. He's controlling the speed of that coming up. If he needs to stop, he stops. If he needs to go, he goes. So he's totally in control of it. Yes?
On your left, wheel defect detector.
Okay,
That one.
that's why we're stopped here. Well, I tell you what, I got the best bus driver in the system right now. So, our wheel defect detector here. This is actually a unique piece of equipment for Union Pacific. We had a need to build this several years ago, back in about 2004, 2005, when we were really running a lot of coal out of Powder River Basin here at Union Pacific. And that was about the same time that we were starting to put in a lot of concrete ties out on the main line as well. And what we were having issues with is we were starting to get a lot of micro stress fractures in the steel wheels of our cars. And unfortunately, those micro stress fractures cannot really be seen by the human eye. I mean, the best carman in the world would not be able to detect these things. But they were starting to get to be the root cause of some of the issues we were having with some derailments, some close to derailments, some instances with cars. And so we come up with this system here at a cost of about $5 million is what it cost to build this thing at the time. But what would happen here is a designated coal train would come in and slow down to about 5 miles an hour and would come through this building. It's a big open building in the end. And it would run its entire train through there. Well, there's a series of infrared and X-ray scanning equipment in there that would analyze every wheel on that train, locomotive and car. And then it would send a report up to the mechanical shop or the car shop and let them know that if there's any defects on wheels, which wheels they were. So when they parked the train, they knew which wheel system to change out to prevent problems. And that almost immediately ended the problems we were having. Well, that was a very short-lived program. We only used that for a couple months. And the good thing was, well, it's a double-edged sword. It's kind of a bittersweet tale. Cost a lot of money to build, but it blazed technology that now we can do that exact same thing now to every train, not just coal trains, on the main line, doing maximum authorized speed, and not have to stop and go 5 miles an hour. So now we don't do it to coal trains. We do it to every train in our system, and we do it as they're moving from point A to point B. So now we're not bottlenecked up waiting to get into this thing. Now they all get it. So it turned out to be a blessing in disguise. But now it just sits there, kind of like a relic from the past. But you know what? As far as I'm concerned, it's money well spent. I mean, who knows how many derailments that thing's probably saved us. Yes, sir.
Did you determine the root cause of the casting issues with the wheels? Or?
Well, the root cause is especially with the changing over to the with the concrete tires. You just got a lot of hard forces on there, because with the wooden tires, you still have a lot of give on there. There's a lot of cushion on there, believe it or not. Well, changing over to concrete tires, you lost a lot of that forgiveness on there, and they're so much more rigid that you can't really do anything with it. There's a bigger shock wave goes up there, and I know concrete tires have a lot bigger effect on your crews too, because the suspensions on locomotives, are virtually non-existent. So changing over to concrete tires also has a bigger effect on your crews as well.
Did you add rubber pads or anything to the track structure to help?
They've tried. They're still working on several things to try to mitigate that. I haven't been on the road for several years now, so I don't really know if they've come up with anything viable. I'm sure if they find something really cheap and effective that they'll incorporate it. But why spend money on?
Does it make a difference between engine to engine? Like what type ride better? I've heard old timers say the SD50 used to ride really nice.
It probably does to a degree, but I think when it comes to concrete tires, I don't think it really matters. Engines run rough no matter what they are. There is no Cadillac of locomotives. They all ride like bricks. So, yes, ma'am.
Concrete ties, how do they stand up to vibration or concrete?
Well, I'm told that they have an expected life of about 50 years under constant use, of mainline use. I don't know how true that is. We haven't had them for 50 years, so I can't say whether that's a fact or not. I do know that they're coming out with a plastic tie now that's supposed to be guaranteed for 100 years. So that would be something to see if we start changing over to plastic. So the wood ones are supposed to last approximately 30 years, 10 to 30 years, depending on the use. All right.
No.
On your left, your SMX has that transponder on, and you got one of your remote engines over beside you.
Okay, yeah, one of our remote control locomotives off here to your right. You see the UPY 314. It's got the flashing yellow light up there. Yeah, that's it. What that's saying, if it's actually flashing, that means it's in remote control mode. It could be moving if those lights are flashing. If it's moving and those lights are flashing, that means that there's an engineer on there controlling it.
And that car on your left.
And the car on your left, okay, trying to get you those transponder tags. If you see, there's a little dark gray rectangle on that support beam right above the wheels, right on the end of it, on the front center of the wheels on these light gray cars. It's just about 6 inches long and about 2.5, 3 inches wide. That's all it is. It's just a little ugly gray rectangle.
What's the butane for?
What's that?
What's the butane here for?
Air supply for yard air.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Do we do anything about graffiti? Yeah, well, we, the only time we do anything with graffiti is, number one, if it's particularly offensive, and number two, if it's covered up the identification of the car, we'll block it out and then paint over it to identify the car. But for the most part, we generally won't do anything with graffiti. Yeah, that cryotrans right there. See how that's it looks like they've probably painted over it a little bit and kind of corrected the number. But generally the railroad won't do much with the graffiti. And the other reason is the vast majority of cars that we haul do not belong to the railroad. The vast majority of cars are private cars. They belong to private companies. So I really don't know, to be honest with you. There's probably several different companies.
They contract that out though.
Yeah. Railroad doesn't build them.
Let's describe the trees bank as where do all these cars go?
Be a good Google search, wouldn't it?
So that's a private contractor.
Yeah, it's got to be, because I'm sure, I know the railroads don't build it.
They don't build it.
No.
That's why I didn't know.
Yeah. You got a question?
Yeah, just a few months back, there was a huge derailment at Emmett, back down here.
Oh yeah, I saw that people had their lawn chairs out there watching the cleanup and everything.
What happened there? You might know.
I don't know what happened for sure.
Maybe you
The only thing I know, if train goes off the rail at that kind of speed, you're going to have a mess.
Yeah, it was.
All the trucks.
How fast are they going?
Oh, depending if they got the lights, they can be up to 60 miles an hour through there. So. Okay, coming up here to off your right hand side of this building. This is our one spot. It's a car repair facility. Since North Platte is what they call a Class 1 yard, that basically means that all services are rendered here as far as cars go. Anything that leaves here has to be 100% functional. So all cars all the air brakes have to work at 100%. Everything has to work. If anything is found not working properly, any of the air brakes on any cars not working, they have to be set out. They have to be repaired before they can leave here. That's what this place does. If they can't be repaired in the rail, they come down here. These are the guys that repair it. These guys can repair just about anything. I tell you what, they can take a matchbox and repair it into some kind of rail car. So yes.
Since you said the cars are owned by other companies, so the other companies paying for those repairs?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how this works, but I'm sure within the shipping contract that if there's something that's a FRA defect on that car that requires it to be repaired, I'm sure that we have to repair it and they have to pay the bill for it. There's probably other things that are optional repairs that we have to contact them for and ask them if they want us to repair it or not. I don't know what the ins and outs of that though. That gets into the marketing side and that's way above my pay grade. Where are we at? What are we
By the shop top on wheels.
Oh.
Yeah, I had it in my front page. There it is.
Put wheels on
Yeah.
the train cars.
Yeah, so we're looking over here. We'll kind of go by there a little slow. I don't know how much you'll be able to see, but they're changing wheel sets on a car over here. Maybe they are. If somebody would have not parked their Toyota in the way, you'd probably see them. Yeah.
Oh, the Toyota!
Yeah, it's actually pretty surprising how simplistic these cars are. Actually, there's wheel sets just set on a little metal frame, and that car sits right on those wheel sets. And there's a little center pin in the middle of it. And that's it. It's real simple setup, real basic.
That weight is gonna hold.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna be able to see much there.
Tell them about how the train goes, just sit in the car.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, you guys are kind of lucky today. Although it looks a little dead out here, we kind of get ourselves into positions here at the Bailey Yard where the fleet, the UP fleet, is either at its destination terminals or it's at its loading point terminals. So places like North Platte that are kind of intermediates are kind of left with not a whole lot going on. And this usually happens maybe once a month for a couple days. So probably in about 3 or 4 days, this place will be jumping, and you would not be able to see half of what you see right now. Yes, sir. Well, nowadays they have they've been able to downscale it to a point where they have scanners out on the main line that they can actually they do the same thing for trains that are going from point A to point B.
What did this big empty area out here used to be?
This big empty area out here that you see between these tracks and the train over there, that used to be the old West Hump area. There used to be a West Hump before the one we're coming up to now. Nowadays it's called the old West Hump, but it doesn't exist anymore.
So how does the pusher locomotive at the back know how hard to run with the front?
Okay, the helper locomotives in the rear end, or as we call them, DPUs, how does it know what to do? The locomotives on the rear end of the train, or even nowadays, you've probably seen them, sometimes we have them in the middle of the train too. The engineer on trains, they can either run those locomotives in what we call a fence position, where they do whatever the head locomotive does. So they will mirror image whatever the lead locomotive does, or he can run them independently of the head locomotive. He can have them maybe start putting on some dynamic brakes as they're coming down off of a steep hill, or he can maybe have them starting to put some more pressure on the train if they're going up a grade, up a summit or something, to give it some more push. He can run them independently, so it's all up to the engineer whatever he wants to do with those locomotives. So they can run in tandem. They can run as he wants them to.
So is it a radio or something? I mean, when it's mirrored.
Yeah, it's all radio controlled by the head end. Yeah, and looking off to your right, there's the West Hump right over there. Yeah, it doesn't look like they're doing anything right now.
I see the wind
control
side.
power
Do you have
kind of
a wind restriction before you stop?
Yeah, you'll see windsocks all over the yard. Windsocks have a variety of purposes for us. At the humps, they help us basically know what direction the wind is coming out of and how much value that sock has got on it. You know, whether it's straight out, whether it's hanging down or whatnot, is how much speed the wind is coming. So as to if we need to give it a little more, speed up the hump a little bit more, give it a little bit more power coming down the hill, maybe drop the retarders a little bit so let them go a little bit faster if they're going into the wind. It also tells us, you know, what direction the wind's coming down. So sometimes we have to tie down cars and rails. Sometimes instead of tying them on the west end, sometimes we'll have to tie them on the east end as well, or just the east end if it's coming out of the west. It's hard to say, you know, knowing what direction. And sometimes here in the yard, you might have it coming out of the 3 different directions. So it's kind of goofy how the wind happens here.
That little control tower type building, is that where the trainman sits? The hub?
That's the west hump, and that's where the west hump yardmaster sits. Okay, now we were talking earlier about classifying cars and how those cars, they come down the hump and how they're classified. You know, they're set down in their individual rails and everything. And now coming down to actually build the new trains, the way that's accomplished is there's a crew on the other side of those bull tracks. So those bulls kind of act like they kind of make a complete circle as they come around. And there's crews on the other end, they're gathering up those rails. And they're starting to double those rails up, one to another, to another, to another, making that train, doubling it out and extending it. They finally get it to a point where they can pull it all the way down to a departure track. And that's what builds that next outgoing train. That's pretty much what's done here with these trains you see here. Now looking off here to your right, your left, my right, whatever it is, we'll figure it out. This big ugly car up front here, this auto rack here, looks the one that looks like it's seen better days. This is Union Pacific and Tesla's test car to see how well Teslas like to ride rail cars. Yeah, there was like
I'm guessing Tesla's
there was like 12 or 14 Tesla cars in that thing, and one of the batteries shorted out or whatever happened. Anyhow, it caught fire, and the rest of the cars caught fire, and it took North Platte Fire Department about 3 days to put that thing out.
That's not good.
Yeah, what's left of the cars is still in there. So, yeah, they're just little piles of unrecognizable goo. So, I think they're still fighting over the insurance company over the liability of it. So they'll probably be fighting that one for a long time.
We're guessing Tesla doesn't look at that.
Well, you know, yeah, it's Elon. He can afford it. I mean, for God's sakes, he set one into orbit. Yeah, it looks like nothing's happened to the East Hump either. Yeah, we're pretty slow today, it looks. Yeah, they were working right there in that first set of retarders earlier, so I don't know if they might be at lunch now. It's hard to say. Well, these guys came on at 3 o'clock though. Now, yeah, you kind of take a look out here off to your left, and you kind of get an idea of what I was talking about with the bull tracks, how they kind of split apart a little bit. You see massive amounts of tracks out there. So then that big blue tube out there, everybody see that tube? Yeah. And then just off to the right of that tube, there's a building all the way in the back over there. Well, all the switches that are out here that need to be thrown in the retarders, that you know, the big pinchers that slow those cars down, they're all pneumatic. They're all run by air pressure. So, as you can probably guess, you just can't get a Craftsman 33-gallon air compressor out here and run this stuff. So it takes a little bit more oomph. That building up and the back over there, we'll see it better once we get past, or once we get come back to the spike. But the that building is one giant air compressor. That's all it is. There's 3 gigantic diesel motors in there. That's all they do is generate air, compressed air. Not quite suitable for filling up your truck tire, I promise you.
Come on.
Now this is the east hump. At one time, this hump was the largest hump in the world. I don't know if it still is or not, but it's still pretty impressive. Okay, out forward here, as we're coming up to it, there are certain trains that stop here in North Platte that do not need to be classified. The reason they're not classified is there's no reason to break them apart. They go to the same destination and they're loaded at the same loading point every time. They're bulk commodity trains, or unit trains as they're called sometimes. Mainly they're coal trains, but they can be any kind of train. Z trains, something that's high value trains like UPS trains. New contract we picked up here recently, Amazon is one of those trains. Certain times of the year, like grain, hauling grain trains, some of the bigger grain elevators will be converted into bulk commodity trains. So what we do is we keep those trains together. We keep the locomotives on there and any distributed power units they have on there. And we bring them in. When they come into town, they stop here at the rack, and we try to keep the power on. The power is taken off once in a while if they have to go to the shop because they need inspections or they have certain things that have to be done to them. Periodically, locomotives are required to have some kind of official inspections done at a shop facility. So if that has to happen, then they get taken off but for the most part, we try to keep the power on them if possible. So that inbound crew comes in here, stops, they tie their handbrakes down to secure their train, they get off, the mechanical forces get on there, they clean the locomotive up, they refuel it, they resand it, the car forces get on there, they check out the air brakes, they make sure the cars are all good to go, another crew is called, and they jump on and away it goes. So it takes about 4 to 5 hours from stop to start. So that thing's usually on the road again about 4 to 5 hours. Whereas a car that has to go over the hump takes about 24 hours from the time it starts or stops to the time it's back on the road again, about 24 hours. So a little bit more proficient process. Fuel trucks over here that you see, we use those to fuel up the DPUs. Those are the helper locomotives on the rear ends of the trains. It's not really practical to try to get them to the fuel racks. So the fuel trucks are the best route to go take to get those things fueled up.
How many fuel racks do you have?
Just the 2. And then you have the old fuel racks, the old ones that we used to fuel the trucks themselves up with. But there's only 2 actual fuel racks for the locomotives.
I was thinking you have one like at the east end and one at the west end. Do you not do that?
Yeah, well, we call them east and west, but they're actually north and south. So, welcome to Bailey Yard.
Yeah, there you go.
What's the range of what? Well, that depends on what it's doing. A loaded coal train going east out of here will actually not burn near as much fuel as an empty coal train going west. Yeah. Reason being because it's downhill. Once you get it up to speed, you can put it in neutral and it's going to coast all the way to Marysville, Kansas. Whereas as an empty coal train, it acts like a sailboat. It's going to catch all that wind and you're just going to have to brute force it all the way up there. You'll burn through 2,000 gallons of fuel per locomotive to get it back up to South Morrow. You'll barely use 1,000 gallons to get it up, a loaded one from here to Marysville. Yeah, we get up here to the top of this bridge up here. We'll stop for a couple minutes, allow everybody to take some pictures. Got a kind of a unique view here. Get a picture of these coal trains for the top, and give you a pretty good idea of how long an individual coal train is. And just kind of keep in mind that as big as these trains are, oftentimes when they leave North Platte, we double and sometimes triple these trains up before they leave here. So.
Would, yeah. Would be.
Which ones these are the main?
What's that?
Which ones are the main?
Main's actually over here. It picks up again right over here.
East down, man.
Kids.
What did we miss?
We came in that way. It's like, how did we not see babies play? Because we were like,
Oh.
We had two schooling around.
Well, we sure didn't miss it. Yeah, we did. We did some last-minute strategery and got right into it. We actually caught it right as it came through right over here.
Oh, wow.
That picture to the North Platte Telegraph, what was on here.
Yeah.
That report is actually maybe I guess here on that side.
Yeah.
You can look right down in the cars, you can see how empty they are.
Well, it's just the right vibration of the
Yes, sir.
Where is your computer IT people located?
In the yard office. That very first building I showed you when we first started the tour. They're in that yard office. All two of them.
Is it just for this yard?
Yeah, it's just for this yard.
What about the others? They're just all over the place.
Yeah, they're in onesies and twosies all over the place. You used to have tons of them. We don't have very many of them now.
what do you use this track for? It's a steamer.
This track here.
Yeah.
This is just a run-around track. That's the only way that we can get locomotives from over here to the shop and back.
They're not pulling up. It's just.
Well, we could actually pull trains over here for whatever reason we need to get them on that side of the yard. I've seen it done before, but I don't know why you would need to do it.
Somebody's smart cat.
Yeah, we probably lost that guy. What's that? Probably down that hill over there.
It just shows you the hat works.
Yeah.
Okay, this building over here off to your left. Okay, this is actually not a Union Pacific building. This is actually a warranty building built by General Electric, and I guess it's owned by Wabtec or whatever it's called these days. Whoever owns our contracts for our locomotives. But this was built back in the early 2000s, about 2005, thereabouts. Once again, back when we were really running a lot of coal trains, and most of our power wasn't really up to stuff, so we were actually buying lots of locomotives at the same time. And at the time, those locomotives were about $2.5 million a piece. And the bad thing is with locomotives is they treat locomotives just like they do that Dodge Ram you buy. There's a lot of things that only the dealer can do on those things. So they get a recall. They have to replace this 9/16 wrench. There's a bolt that's on this transmission. Guess what? Only the dealer can do this. Just because we have one of the world's largest diesel shops here doesn't mean that they can change that 9/16 bolt. So consequently, we would have to send that locomotive down to North Little Rock, Arkansas. Well, that's about a 120-day turnaround. So we spent $2.5 million on a locomotive that we're going to lose for almost half a year. That's not making us any money. Well, geez, you don't think that didn't cause a stink? And then, you know, funny thing how those recalls just seem to keep happening. We replaced this bolt, then you put it back in service, and oh, we got to change this wiper blade now. And then, oh, now we got to replace this, and well, we got to replace that, yada, yada, yada. I'm sure some of you folks have been through that before. And so after a few court battles, and I'm sure more than one phone call between the CEOs, they came up with this solution. And it seems to be working pretty good now that we got a warranty shop here. And now it actually works out pretty good because other places farther west, even in California and stuff, now they don't have to send their stuff so far to get warranty work done. So, or dealer only work. Pretty bad when a locomotive has dealer only things on it too. Okay.
For sand.
This is the west run through. It's kind of the little brother of the east run through. Except for it's kind of a little different setup. Instead of the locomotive staying on the train with the rest of the train, they have to take the locomotives off and bring it up to the rack here. And the mechanical forces will get on here. They'll refuel it. They'll resand it and everything, clean it up, and get it back on the train. And that way the car forces will be on there, and they'll be doing their thing while the train is still on the rail. So a little slower, not quite as proficient, but still gets the job done.
Do they have a wash bay out here somewhere for the engines and stuff?
We did, but you know, then we discovered it cost money to use water, and it didn't affect the performance of a locomotive, so we don't use them anymore. So.
And I know over in West Fort Worth they've got a little yard there and a hump yard there, but they had a wash bag, but I haven't washed it in a long time. I may not wash it there.
Yeah, I think the last wash rack I know that we had was in Neff Yard down in Kansas City. I think that's closed too now. So.
Is Area 51, is that a joke?
No, Area 51, folks, is not a joke. It's a very, very serious place. We here at Union Pacific do not have a sense of humor that we are aware of. And Area 51 is definitely one of those places. Now the story behind Area 51, the official story is that we managed to run 51 coal trains through North Platte, or actually through the West Run through sometime in history. I think it was 2006. That's the official story. Now, those of us that are trainmen who've worked out here in Area 51, there's a whole different story for that. Kind of like the official, non-official government area that may or may not exist in the middle of the desert out there in Nevada. Strange things happen within the walls of that building. You know, within the walls of that building are a lot of powers in there. We got yard masters, we got mechanical managers, we have new, off the street train managers making awful, incredible decisions that affect the railroad in incredible ways. That's why they need the bunker right next to them, so after they make some of those decisions, they can hightail into the bunker before the trainmen find out what those decisions are. So, Yeah, it's just a strange place. But supposedly that's where the official meaning is. We ran 51 trains out of here one time, which is, if it actually happened, is an incredible feat. So, because that's an awful lot of coal trains in one day. But get off to your right-hand side, see something you don't see very often. That is an actual working used caboose. And we use that as what we call our blizzard bus. In the winter time, when we have winter storms, if we get ourselves in a position where the four-wheel drive vehicles that we have cannot make it out to relieve our crews that are out on the main line, we'll attach a locomotive to each end of that caboose. We'll put crews in there in the caboose and take them out and relieve our crews that way. Oftentimes that's the only safe way of relieving the crews. So that's how that thing's used. That's, like I said, it's the only fully functional caboose that I know of right now. There's other cabooses used in the UP system. They're usually used for long shoves where they have to protect a shove. They're not fully functional. They normally don't have any electricity on them, or lights, or heat, or anything like that. That one there is fully functional. Uh-oh, we got trains, or locomotives anyhow. Yeah, they're gonna grab one and go. Or maybe they're gonna grab them all and go.
You have a bus full of rail fence. How can locomotive be bad?
What's that?
They said you have a bus full of rail fence. How can having locomotives be a bad thing?
I didn't say they're in bad shape. They're just going to the shop to get repaired or inspected. They may just be overdoing inspection or something.
Are these SD40s or SD70s?
Where'd the old turntable used to be?
The old turntable used to be way off to the west of here. Yeah.
I think if you look on satellite, you can kind of still see.
Yeah, you could satellite. You can still see the circle where it used to be. Yeah.
What is that? Like the one in Mama's truck that she
Handbrake.
pushes.
Yeah. Now they'll probably go get that other one behind that, and away they go. They'll either shove all that into the rail, or they'll take off and go over the hill.
What are all the different air hoses on the front?
Those all control the different air hoses up front. They will, when you couple up to other locomotives, they control the different brake functions on that locomotive.
Angelica.
You guys still got a rotary plow yet, or you just use spreaders?
No, we just use spreaders. They work a lot better than rotary does. They use rotary out west a lot more. They got a lot bigger snow out there. And actually, we don't even use a lot of spreaders around here. We just blow through with the locomotives.
Definitely started. Rudy, where?
Where the coupler's at?
Yeah.
Well, that's just not, I think that's just a cord that they hook up so that the computers can talk to each engine.
See, there's a chain underneath the brake. The brake wheel. By the wheel.
That's what pulls the brake out.
Oh, okay. It's like putting down an anchor. You know how you put down an anchor with the chain?
That's attached to that wheel. And that's what pulls the brake out.
There you go.
Whatever works.
Pirates did it.
Oh, on the other side over there. Okay, I didn't see those chains. Okay, I thought they was talking about one of the customers. I see the chain you're talking about.
One of them F-250s. No, not even that.
No, it's 40s probably.
Yep.
Now everybody's going back to work. Everybody went to work at 3 o'clock. They took lunch. Now they're going back to work. Welcome to the railroad. Now, more realistically, they probably got their job brief. They got their warm up to work exercises and all that. And now they're getting to work. Yeah, we have 3 special agents out here.
Now that boxcars have disappeared, you have many people trying to jump the trains, ride the trains.
Yeah, they still try to get on trains. They usually like to get on the DPUs now. So yeah, it's a lot more. You know, now they could get on a style because they got heat and air conditioning, and so. Why would you want to get on a boxcar if you get on something with the air conditioning? You know, come on now.
So is there a YouTube video for Hobos how to turn on the air conditioning in the remote unit?
Oh, it's pretty easy. I mean, there's a switch, air conditioner, high, low, on, off. So sometimes you might have to throw a breaker, but you know what? It's pretty easy. You open up the breaker box, air conditioner, on, off. You know.
Yeah, look at them go. Yeah? Pretty neat, huh? Bet you can't wait till we get ours rebuilt, huh?
This guy's waiting.
Yeah, that's fine.
I imagine when it's really busy, it's just gotta be like new people just freak out because there's so much going on.
Yeah, this place can be for a new hired trainman. This place can be quite overwhelming. But you know the hard part is keeping your mind about you, and you got to keep in mind that it's not impossible. It's not rocket science. Because if it was rocket science, none of us would be here doing it. So, you know, and a lot of people allow themselves to get intimidated. You know, there's a lot of track out there, and they're like, "How am I going to learn all these tracks and everything?" It's like, no, don't learn all these tracks. Things are oftentimes as basic as you would think they are. You know, I tell guys, I said, look, you know, why are you stressing out? You got to go to track, 215, right? What track are you sitting next to? 218. Okay, so 15 is either 3 that direction or 3 that direction, right? Okay, why are you worried about it? Come on, it is this easy.
This is an SD72.
I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you. An engineer could probably tell you, but I couldn't. I'm not an engineer, so I couldn't tell you. I mean, they're from a conductor's perspective, they're loud and greasy and noisy and well, They're all the same to me.
As long as the air works.
Sometimes. It don't matter. The conductor spends a lot of time outside of that locomotive anyhow, so.
Oh,
You always get one retarded fuel
That's
truck
right.
driver there.
retarded fuel truck driver. That's my one body. At least you know what you guys found for us today.
Yeah, he's not the first one. He's just the first one this tour.
The train's coming and they both come running back.
What do we got going?
Trains coming along.
Oh, we got locomotives coming. Alright. Yeah, might as well. We're on his way.
Thought he was waiting on me so that he could pull out.
He couldn't see them at the corner.
Ain't that neat? Be that close to him.
Jump on.
Looks like they're reverse in this look. Looks like they're going backwards.
Yeah.
Background around this other person.
Yeah, there's a switch guy out there.
This is called pacing.
Oh, that chain you're talking about? Yeah.
Did they ever change the oil on them, or they just had?
What's that?
Did they ever change the oil on them, or they just had?
No, they don't. They never really changed the oil on locomotives. They analyze the oil, and they'll sometimes change formulation on them, but and add to them, but they never actually change oil like you do in your car.
When they start the engine, do they let it run like 3 or 4 months? Or
3 or 4 months.
yeah, when they start these engines and they're in service or going, do they ever shut them off? I mean,
Oh yeah, we shut them off all the time.
you do.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, because fuel conservation. Yeah, we shut them off quite often.
I've heard that. I didn't start them up. They just ship change, they just run them. And,
Well, it depends on whether, like during weather, like your switch locomotives, very seldom get shut off because you've always got shift after shift
so
after
they
shift.
stay running.
So they'll stay running all the time. But if they're gonna be like at the shop for 2 or 3 days, they may get shut down for a couple days, and they're not gonna be used.
Yeah.
But or if you got reserve locomotives out there for the yard, they'll get shut down for a little while.
That's pretty cool.
But for the most part, your yard locomotives are almost always running.
Always running.
Yeah.
How do you start them up? You got a little key?
No, starting up a locomotive is a process. Yeah, it's a process. And then if you're lucky, you won't need a jump start, because if you need a jump start, it's a while.
They do jump start them? Really?
Yeah, you just can't take your Dodge Ram up there with some jumper cables. Yeah, you got to have a generator and a special cables and
Can't pull start them either.
No, yeah, the ripcord on there doesn't work.
No,
Yeah.
no.
No.
Can't push start them, get it running, and
Yeah,
pop the clutch out.
yeah, you can't pop the clutch and put it third gear and pop the clutch. No, that doesn't work either.
There's a side there, yeah.
No, you can keep going if you want.
I like to
You're not
get
gonna
that whole shot.
interfere with anything they're doing.
Right, yeah. I'd love to have
Oh, that's the man that sure looked at Sherman.
glare in the glass.
Right down the track right behind us. So you expect to see something neat anyway.
Better than my teenage.
Yep.
Go figure, huh?
No shit. Pretty much a without fail thing.
The model trains.
Finally start seeing something super, super cool with them.
They're going right behind us. They don't go under.
Okay, good.
Saved
Mine just
myself about
cramped.
$100,000 each year.
Okay.
I can see another video.
Yeah, mine, I can't charge it anywhere. In the truck. It won't charge. Yeah.
Okay, you guys, you look off to your left. You see quite a bit of areas like this wooded area here. And believe it or not, Bailey Yard is actually kind of like a game preserve in its own right for the state of Nebraska. And we do have, although you don't really see a whole lot of them during the day, at night we do have a pretty sizable deer population here in the yard. Oh yeah. And then a lot of jackrabbits, and like I said, you don't really see a lot of them during the day, but at night it seems like they're everywhere. And if you ever really want to know what the first day of rifle season is for deer, come over here to the West Run Through at the balloon track. That next morning, there'll be 1,000 deer bedded down in there because they know they're safe. And nobody's going to be hunting them in Bailey Yard. So they're going to spend the entire season here in the yard. And there's enough guys that come out here, they'll feed them. They don't have to go anywhere.
Are they gonna have deer meat?
No. You will not hunt in Bailey Yard. You get caught, you will be in a lot of trouble.
Oh, yeah, okay. I mean, if the run over by a locomotive.
Oh yeah, we run over once in a while. Yeah, they get in the way once in a while. There's not much you can do about it.
Yeah.
I'm assuming
Like
that
that?
the locomotive pilot
just need
is more.
one of them at home. so
But
I don't have to
also with the jackrabbit population,
then I don't have to split fire.
usually about October, November time frame, there's a pretty sizable pack of red fox that comes through here, and they'll stay here October, November, all the way through about April or May, and then they'll take off once they pretty much decimated that jackrabbit population, and then they'll let that population regrow itself. They'll do it all again later that year. And I'll tell you what, them fox are about half tame because they are not worried about you at all. They see a jackrabbit right next to you, they'll run right between your legs to get to that thing. They don't care. They know you're not going to hurt them. I was at the East Hump one day and had one run right up the hump chasing the jackrabbit. He wasn't concerned about me.
He bought it like, what was it, 50 or 100 pounds, eh?
Do we?
I don't remember.
No, it's about time.
Yeah.
I just need one load of coal brought to Mankato because I can't buy it there. And I don't have to split wood no more for the winter.
Yeah. Maybe a couple winters.
This comes from Wyoming. This
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
shit I can do this from lignite.
Any of those ever started firing?
Once in a while, we'll get one that catches on fire.
Okay.
Yeah, we just set it out the West Run Through and let it go. Damn thing you can do about it.
Water won't put it out.
No, you can flood that thing with water and it won't put it out.
Really?
Yeah, you just sit there and let it go.
We just cut the train.
Yeah, you just cut it out of the train and let it sit there and burn. There's nothing you can do about it. Well, I mean, you can flood the car with water and put that coal underwater, and the nature of coal is it generates its own oxygen.
Oh.
So all it's doing is generating its own oxygen underwater, and it's just going to sit there and burn, and it's eventually going to evaporate the water anyhow.
Does it ruin the car then?
Oh yeah, it'll tear up them aluminum cars, no problem.
Okay. Is it coal very easy to ignite then?
Not really. It's for most of the coal fires, from what I understand, and I don't know this for a fact, but from what I understand, it has to do with how it's loaded into the car as to whether it has a tendency to catch a fire or not.
Oh, okay.
So, and I don't fully understand the theory behind that or the the principle behind that.
The graded pole makes a difference too. Bituminous.
It could be, I don't know.
Compared to North Dakota.
But I do know that we have had coal cars come in here that are on fire, and we've got a track set out for that event, so they can just sit there and burn. So because like I said, there's nothing you can do about it.
It just smoldered, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean it takes sometimes weeks for it to be
Sure, a lot of
done.
smoke too, right?
Oh yeah, it smells terrible.
We had a peat fire out there by us, burnt about a year and a half. And supposed to be similar to coal.
Yeah.
What are those black masses that you've seen before that go underneath there, like next to the tracks, but they have holes and those kind of
On main line, you see them. Is that just for turnouts?
Oh, you mean like this one up here?
No, it's the actual black box like that.
Almost looked like a
Like that.
blower. It had a big pipe.
I think it's for turnouts to keep them unfroze. It was on main line.
Yeah. Could be just about anything. It could be a control point, or like this one over here is like an oiler.
Well, they had hoses on them. That big around with a blower fan.
It could be like de-icer or something.
That's what I'm thinking.
So, yes, sir.
So if you're the guy running the hump yard there, and you're uncoupling those cars, how does that work? Do you have to jump up on the car, uncouple, and then jump?
No, there's a lever right about waist height. Yeah.
On the very edge of the car.
Yeah, it's right. It'll be right between the cars. Just pull straight up. Yeah, it's on the other side.
So he's also running the trains?
Yep. He's in control of the speed of the movement.
You ever have two cars that goes together? He's going to the same train.
Yeah, you can either let one car go, two cars go, or three cars go. Normally no more than three.
Do you have to tell the computer when you did, or no? I guess you don't.
No, the computer's actually telling you to release 1, 2, or 3.
He's got two there.
Yeah.
What if you do more than 3?
What's that?
What if you more than 3?
It shouldn't tell you to do more than 3, unless
They'll slow down. You'll hear them.
So there's like a speaker out there telling you.
there's actually you won't be able to see it, but there's a big electronic board up there that basically just got numbers up there that says 1, 2, or 3, and it'll tell you the car numbers, and you verify that the car numbers you're pulling the pins on are what's on that board.
Straight to here. Straight to these.
It's just straight to the remote controlling right now.
I would think I get a lot of momentum.
No, by the guy that's pulling the pins up there. Yeah.
Watch how much slower they go.
Here, we're gonna get a better look at that. Go ahead, keep going there. Because we're gonna get to do something here that we haven't done yet.
Can we all do a hands-on turn on that?
Yeah.
It says 2 cars.
Can we all do an on-hands try on the
No.
That one's going by itself because it's so heavy. Is that what it
Wishful
is?
thinking.
Probably not. They can release 3 of those, but they'll. It's probably not going the same place the one behind is going. They might be going to different destinations.
That is so cool.
Yeah, there he is.
See, right there he is up there on the top.
Yeah.
Pulling that pin.
So it's like, is he like the only guy up there working? Is there a couple guys up there?
Well, there's 2 crews up there. One crew's probably down in the bowl. They've been probably getting bull tracks together or something.
So he is not willing.
So, well, he's alone up there. Yeah, the only other person up there is the yard master, and he's up in the tower with the air conditioning and the cold water.
And laughing about it.
And laughing, going, God, I'm glad I'm not training.
Always interesting.
Okay.
That's what this yard's all about.
Yeah, this is the bread and butter Bailey Yard right here. Okay, once you go across here, start aiming towards the gravel road, go straight. You can see the path right there.
This is 8 miles from one end to the other.
Yeah. Now I'm going to get my butt chewed for this tomorrow morning, but that's okay.
It'll be worth it, right?
Yeah, it's always worth it.
Depends who's chewing too.
It's all scar tissue. There's no fresh meat down there, so it doesn't matter. I don't care. Yeah, they're all going down the wrong side though, but this will kind of give you an idea. You see the bolt track, you'll be able to see the bolt tracks, how they're laid out a little bit. You start hearing the retarders a little bit.
That's what's slowing those cars down. See how much slower they are?
That's like fingernails on
On chalkboard.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a lot louder than that.
It is a lot louder.
Oh, okay.
You're still quite a ways away from the one.
Well,
If they were using the ones right here,
Yeah.
it'd be a different ball game.
Yeah, because those cars go a long ways, so they're not going to slow them down too much.
Oh, because it knows how much to slow down.
Oh, they're slowing down quite a bit.
Yeah, you can.
But see, look at the pickup speed as they come out of there. So they still got a long ways. And there's another set. There's more retarders even down farther. There's secondary retarders. Yes, sir. If sometimes the secondaries don't, they'll still pick up speed even after they went through the secondaries. There's nothing you can do at that point, and you'll hear they'll just hit each other. So I mean you can't cover every contingency.
Right here. Now listen, that thing will put the brakes on.
That thing nothing to shed.
Mm-hmm.
The machine slows it down.
So that electronically controlled?
Pneumatically,
Pneumatically.
air pressure.
But to know the speed, does it slow down to X speed then release? Or does it?
Yeah, it slows it down to whatever speed it thinks it can still make it to the rail to the next coupling down.
All computerized.
Okay.
It's all computerized. There's a scale up there that knows what each car weighs.
Oh, it's adjusted by
And the
that.
computer adjusts it for the speed and the wind and all that. And it knows how much pressure to put on. And then it has the train.
Here's a good one.
He's coming off over here on this other side.
Yeah, watch.
Now watch, he's not going that fast because that's really what you're going to see. It's really, really loud.
What if they don't quite get to their
destination.
destination? Do they always make it to their complete destination? Do they?
No, they don't always make
If they
it.
don't, then what do you do then? The next car just
The next car will hit it and push it down.
keep it going.
Question:
Gotcha.
do they use hair every day? I really couldn't tell you. Okay, let's start heading out.
Down here,
Yeah, we can just go right on around.
here's the piece.
Yeah, this building over here, right out to our right. This is the one I told you was the gigantic air compressor. We'll get a better view of it on the other side. Now, these keep going straight. These big steel things right here are the retarders I was talking about. These are ones that they replaced, but this gives you an idea what those big pair of pliers look like. That's what's making those squealing noises.
See those airbags that blow up like airbags? They just ram them together.
Oh,
Squeeze the
yeah.
tires.
Some of those are pretty twisted.
So apparently there was so much value in using it, so they said no for how long?
We'll use anything in the garage.
Now you go by the tracks. Either one doesn't matter. I would actually go by the building though.
Oh, really? How do you get along with that? Oh, you were? I think so. You know, it seems to me I read something.
Yeah, this area over here where you see these big blue tubes and the little coils and all that, that's all part of that air compressor building. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like they have any of the big doors open or anything, so you can't really see the diesel compressors in there. But they do have 3 gigantic diesel motors in there.
That's for the
And they're
those lines, right?
for anybody that knows their diesel engines. They're those great big two-stroke Nissan diesels. I mean, just loud, just horrendously loud. But man, I tell you what, you want something that generates the power. Good Lord.
They would scream then.
Oh yeah, they scream.
So they're keeping that big blue cylinder out there, Charles.
Yep.
Pressurizing that.
Yep.
And that pressurizes all this.
That pressure, that supplies pressure for everything.
Might be nightmare up that out here.
Yep, it could be.
Got a train engine coming.
Sure.
You don't mind waiting on it.
Yeah, we got time.
Is that another Blizzard mobile?
No, I don't know what that caboose is doing up there.
Well, sitting looking pretty.
That's about it. I don't know, it could be somebody bought it and we're getting ready to ship it to them. It's hard to say. So you guys are first tour that got to see that.
That was awesome.
So-
that was awesome and close with you. That was
I've been trying like crazy to get in a position where they were actually humping when we got to this position, and this is the first time in the last 2 days it's actually happened. Yeah. Thought it was going to happen this morning, but then they shut down the hump. It looks like they had some maintenance problems. So, because they were humping pretty good when we went up the hill, then we came down and they were all shut down. They had maintenance guys out there doing something. So.
that was. Thanks for taking us.
But like I said, I'm gonna get chewed out tomorrow for it, but that's all right. 'Cause I know that yard master up there was up there. They got tour bus. He's not on the Blackball Road. They're supposed to be on the hardball. What is he doing? What is he doing? Nobody said help. Calling the National Guard. Oh yeah.
Calm down, folks.
Yeah, exactly. Chill. Take some water with that cup of Prozac, will you? Good Lord.
Oh, your phone's not blowing up, so.
Oh, it's off too.
Yeah, it's turned off. It's easier that way.
Yeah, I put it in airplane mode because I haven't tended to see it doing things like that. I don't need everybody calling me.
I didn't want to disturb the guests by trying to get on. Oh yeah, you're very good that way.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Thank you.
So one guy up there on couples holes,
Yeah, just one guy.
how dangerous a work is that?
Not very, as long as you can walk.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
unfortunately, we have had some pretty major incidents up there with guys that can't walk.
Yeah.
You know, and for whatever reason, you get people up there that like to walk and kick their heels, and you know, when you do stupid things like that, you end up falling, and you fall, and you get hands caught in places they shouldn't, and ran over by things that they shouldn't get ran over by, and you know.
I was wondering. Yeah.
This must be the repair shop.
Yeah, you look at out front here. This is our car repair, or not car repair shop, our locomotive repair shop, and this is probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, of the system. It's actually, I know it looks like there's a lot of locomotives here, but there's really not that many locomotives to be repaired here. We've got 11 repair bays. Each one of those repair bays can hold up to 3 locomotives apiece. So basically 33 locomotives at any given time can be in some sort of repair. And just like everything else here, they can do just about anything that needs done with the remote, with the locomotive. They can repair engines, they can replace engines, they can do everything except for obviously warranty work. We're not competent enough to do that. But everything else is fair game.
Do you ever do work for other companies? Like if their shops can't help, they ever take something to you guys?
I'm sure they do. I wouldn't know one way or another, but I'm sure that we do work for other companies.
So these engines here, UP owns these engines?
Yeah.
They own these?
Yeah.
But then some that you purchase that's under warranty, you get rid of it.
There's the ones that we purchase, there's certain things we can do and certain things we can't do. It's just like when you buy a new car. there's certain things that you can do maintenance-wise on it, and there's other things you can't because it voids the warranties on it. So, and at a certain point, then you can do anything on
How
it.
long is warranty then on a brand new?
I have no idea.
2 weeks.
Yeah, you never know. No, you're good.
That they run that 24 hours a day then?
Yep. Everything in Bailey Yard is 24 hours a day, 365 days a week, a year. Week, year. It's all the same to me, man.
Yeah.
Week, year, decade.
What's the longest you can build a train? What, I mean, how much can the knuckles take before?
Well, the longest you can build a train, I don't think we've come to that point yet. It seems to me like they keep building them longer and longer and longer. So,
There's some 5 miles long now.
yeah, we've got trains well over 5 miles. Yeah.
Like 6?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know when or where we're going to stop.
How many locomotives real quick for that?
It all depends on tonnage.
Let's bring it home.
That would be
Yeah, it's our supply operations building here. It's actually more manageable for us to have our own supply department than it is to try to go out and buy things that we need for this yard. I mean, try to imagine, you know, the amount of material that Bailey Yard goes through in a day. You know, look at the amount of the pencils, the paper, you know, the cleaning supplies, you know, just routine everyday things, plus diesel engines, oil filters, things like that. You need a military style supply department, really, and that's pretty much what we have. Yeah.
How long does it take to clean snow after a blizzard?
I don't know if we even do it. I think we'll just wait for Mother Nature to take care of it.
How many of the engines out here are just storing?
Out here, where you're seeing it right now, none of these are stored engines. These are all active service. The only engines we have stored here in North Platte are actually over at the east hump, all the way on that south side over there, south track. Those are all stored engines.
So what that does is they build pressure up there and then they can pull on
Maybe
that
one
change
here, could you?
and then they send the brakes.
Yes.
What about the one that you used to chain there to do along the path?
The what?
The ones in Hastings.
Hastings?
Yeah.
We have locomotives stored all over the place. You know, like we were talking earlier, those locomotives that we bought years ago, when we were running coal all over the place, they turned into surplus. And so, you know, I don't know whether we're saving them. Maybe we'll have another boom one day, and we'll need those locomotives, or maybe we're selling them off little by little. I don't know what the plan is for them. That's all at a level much higher than mine.
I'm sure this one down at the end with the fireworks story.
That one's burned.
Oh no, that's got plenty of miles left in it. That's our executive model.
That one too, right?
Yeah, that was probably next to the Tesla car.
Single party claim
How many cars is in that car?
The Tesla one?
Yeah.
12 or 14, I'm not for sure. Yeah, there's quite a few in there.
What goes the elbow?
Yeah, yeah, that was pretty ugly.
So now they can't transport on trains, Teslas now?
I don't know. That's between them and us, I guess.
Free thing, or
I'm sure it's probably a freak thing.
was it?
Yeah.
Angelica.
She's fine.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
I Well, you don't understand how tenacious that one can be.
Yeah.
Oh, this will grab that one by the collarbone and start pounding it like he's
Oh,
fresh loaf of bread.
Yeah, it's everything. Yeah, you don't come over out here to
We're
recreate.
having a
That's for
band
sure.
show here today.
She's been fine.
All right.
All right. Hey, I think we can get in there.
Oh, that's okay. They bounce. These ones don't break that easy.
Good. Glad we don't have fragile children.
So
No.
we always
Their
park
sister
our
fell
campers
7
on
feet
top
flat
of
on her back into a bed of rocks and had a scratch.
Yeah.
He's gone down a flight of the stairs.
Yeah, we used to do that years ago, but you know we had so many people that ended up getting injured over there, falling down and everything, and it just wasn't worth it.
We don't have to back in this thing.
Yay! Or the Suburban might back into you.
It don't matter. He's still got tons of paperwork regardless.
Yeah.
You got a tip jar up there when we go out?
No, I sure don't.
And we're done.
Okay, folks. Well, this concludes our tour. Hopefully, you guys learned something and found it remotely interesting. So, I'll be sticking around for a while. If you guys have questions or you want to talk about something, I'll be more than happy to entertain you. So, y'all have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching this video. If you like the video, hit the like button. You can comment on it and you can subscribe to my channel. Also hit the notification bell when I post this video on YouTube. Again, thanks for watching. I will see you on my next video. Bye bye for now. Da 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 da.